My next guest has been in town this past week broadcasting his national radio show from the Conservative Political Active Action Conference. Joining us now is the host of the Steve Gill Show, the one, the only Steve Gill, one of the few people in broadcasting that I can look eye to eye with. How are you, Steve?
Me and Bill Salmon.
That's right. He's actually a little taller than I am. Hey, Steve, good to have you here with me. Your thoughts about how this CPAC session has gone? Because it seems to me that there's a lot of enthusiasm, but I don't know that that conservatives are walking away from this political action conference with a plan.
Yeah, I think one of the upsides, obviously, of being in the minority is your base does get mobilized. For the last 8 years, the Democrats have raised a lot of money. They've been able to mobilize their base with an anti-Bush animus. And you saw 8,000 to 9,000 people turn out at CPAC this year, about a 40% increase over last year. But you're exactly right. You've got to translate that enthusiasm into policy and communicating those policies that can put you back on the winning track. And I don't think the Republicans or conservatives come out of this Conservative Political Action Conference with some sort of a shining leader that everybody's going to gravitate around. There's not somebody that's the new Reagan.
Who is the person? Who's the guy or the woman who's going to lead Republicans out of the wilderness? Because right now they're just sort of flailing around without any sort of real strategy or no one to lead them.
Well, I think the lack of leadership being one person is not a problem. What you've got to develop are the issues that you're going to rebuild on, not necessarily the personalities. Personalities matter in politics.
Come later, but
I think issues are the most important.
Well, what are the issues then?
Well, I think the key is to fight back against what Obama's doing to our economy. And I think it's not just being anti what he's for, but laying out what you're for in terms of what we know works in revitalizing an economy. Tax cuts have always worked in the past. Spending your way to prosperity has never worked. But I think they've not only got to have the right policies, they've got to communicate them. And right now, the Republicans, the conservatives are being painted as just obstructionists and saying no. They've got to do a better job of communicating what they're for.
Steve, we saw this $3.6 trillion, trillion with a T dollar budget laid down. And I understand that talk radio went crazy.
I talked to John Boehner, the minority leader, this week. I said, did you ever see a point where a $410 billion omnibus spending package would look small? Only when you're throwing around trillions and trillions. 9,000 earmarks, it's starting to be a number that the numbers are so mind-boggling, so jaw-dropping that we kind of have become almost anesthetized to it. I think that's, again, why we've got to start pointing out the specific waste, the specific fraud, the specific abuse, and really bring it home to folks in their local communities.
What are the issues right now that just get your viewers hopping mad?
Well, I think part of it is the idea.
Your listeners.
Well, I think part of it is the idea that you're going to be paying people's mortgages that shouldn't have bought homes, they couldn't afford them, aren't paying their mortgages, and are looking to people to bail them out. The idea that if you've been responsible, played by the rules, maybe worked overtime, gotten an extra job, you've done everything right, and you're going to be punished with higher taxes. In fact, my 13-year-old son laid it out best the other day when we were watching the president's speech. He said 95% are going to get a tax cut. Ryan, my 13-year-old, said, how much? He asked the right question. How much is the tax cut, not what percentage is getting it? I said, it's $8 a week, Ryan. He said, so the president wants to give us allowance. We're not going to rebuild our economy with an allowance. We've got to do something a lot deeper than that, and that's what Republicans have to offer.
Yes, how does that compare with your kid's allowance? I
had to point out to Ryan, he's not even going to get the $8. All right, he's madder than most of my listeners.
All right, so it all wraps up here today out at CPAC. Any last thoughts?
I think you've got Ann Coulter and Rush Limbaugh, who are two of the big bright star luminaries that will rev up the base. But again, you're right. We've got to find folks that are the policy leaders, the Mitt Romneys and others that can take it to the fight.
I was telling Steve here that Ann Coulter's going to be here. She's another one that I can almost look straight in the eye, very tall.
And looks so much better.
In a black dress especially. Okay. Steve Gill, thank you so much.
Brian.